brought to you by Soundlibra.com. You can find a direct link to our full library in the description of this audio, or visit us anytime at Soundlibra.com. Welcome to the Habit Reset. Let's break free from self-sabotage and build the positive habits you desire.
And I'm Lisa. If you've ever felt stuck in unproductive routines, this podcast is for you. Before we dive into the science, just a quick heads up that while we're discussing wellness and behavior, this isn't medical advice. Always consult a professional for your specific health needs.
Exactly. We all have habits that don't serve us well. Maybe it's hitting snooze, unhealthy snacking, or excessive scrolling.
These patterns feel automatic, right? You want change, but struggle to stick with it. It can be frustrating and overwhelming.
That's why we're here. The Habit Reset will demystify habit science with easy, applicable strategies. We're offering a structured, proven approach to transform your habits.
We aim to empower you with the knowledge to build lasting habits. Think of it as intentionally designing your life one positive action at a time by understanding the why behind your behaviors.
I used to battle my alarm clock daily, hitting snooze repeatedly. This led to rushed, stressed mornings, impacting my entire day. I wanted quiet time or exercise, but waking up felt impossible.
My struggle was late night snacking. It wasn't hunger, just an automatic reach for something sweet while watching TV. This led to guilt and poor sleep. It felt like an invisible force controlled my actions.
These are common issues with underlying reasons. Over the next few episodes, we'll dissect how habits function, learning about the blueprint that governs repeating behaviors. We'll examine the science behind that loop.
We will decode the triggers that initiate habits. What is that prompt that tells your brain it's time for a specific action, good or bad? Understanding these prompts is a major step toward control.
Then we'll discuss the routine itself, the doing part. Crucially, we'll explore the power of the reward. Why do we repeat actions? It's about what we gain, even if we don't consciously realize it.
It's like a personal detective story, unraveling the clues to our own behavior. We'll focus on the how with practical strategies for setting up your environment to support new habits, not derail them.
Relying solely on willpower is like swimming upstream. We need to create an environment that makes good habits easy and bad ones difficult. Accountability is also a powerful advantage, providing structure and responsibility.
Tracking progress is incredibly motivating. We'll show you how to monitor your achievements to build momentum. And when setbacks happen, which they will, we'll guide you on navigating them and bouncing back stronger.
We'll introduce Keystone habits, powerful actions that create a domino effect, triggering a cascade of other positive changes. These are the high-impact habits for significant transformation.
For those wanting to solidify changes, we'll explore the 30-day experiment. It's an effective way to incubate new habits and make them feel more natural, more integrated into your identity.
By the end of this series, you'll have a comprehensive toolkit and a roadmap to build your own lasting structure of positive habits. You'll have the skills to maintain strong habits long-term.
So, if you're ready to move past feeling stuck and start building a life you love, you're in the right place. We'll make habit change accessible, achievable, and even enjoyable.
This is just the beginning. We have so much to explore together. So, get ready to reset and let's build some amazing habits.
Next episode, the science of the habit loop.
Welcome back. Last time, we discussed setting the stage for change. Today, we're diving into the science of the habit loop.
The habit loop, Alex. It sounds so fundamental, and I think that's exactly why it's so important. If we really want to understand why we do what we do without even thinking about it, we need to understand this.
Absolutely, Lisa. Think of your brain as this incredibly efficient machine. It's constantly looking for ways to save energy. Habits are its ultimate shortcut. They allow us to perform complex actions automatically, freeing up our mental RAM for more demanding tasks. And at the core of every habit, whether it's brushing your teeth, checking your phone, or even that afternoon cookie craving, is a neurological loop.
A loop. So, it's not just a single action, but a cycle of events?
Exactly. This loop has three distinct parts, and they work together seamlessly. The first part is the cue. This is the trigger, the signal that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. It can be anything: a time of day, a place, an emotion, a person, or even a preceding action.
So, for example, if I always feel a strong urge to grab a sugary snack around 3 p.m., the time of day, 3 p.m., is the cue?
Precisely. Or perhaps you always feel stressed before a big meeting. That feeling of stress is the cue. The cue initiates the loop. Once the cue is recognized, your brain anticipates a reward. This anticipation, or the desire for that reward, drives the second part of the loop.
Which is the routine.
You got it. The routine is the behavior itself, the habit you perform. It's the action you take in response to the cue. In your example, Lisa, the routine would be going to the kitchen and grabbing that sugary snack. If the cue was stress before a meeting, the routine might be something like biting your nails or perhaps pacing nervously.
Okay, so we have the cue, which is the trigger, and then the routine, which is the action we take. What comes next?
The final and arguably most powerful part of the loop is the reward. This is what satisfies your brain's craving. It's the reason you repeat the habit. The reward reinforces the loop, teaching your brain that this particular sequence, cue, routine, reward, is worth remembering and repeating in the future.
So, the reward is like the payoff that makes the brain say, yes, that was good. Let's do it again when that cue pops up.
You've hit the nail on the head. The reward could be conscious, like the sweet taste of that cookie, or it could be more subtle. The reward for checking your phone might be a moment of distraction, a feeling of connection, or the satisfaction of clearing your inbox, even if it's just a quick glance. The reward for nail biting when stressed might be a temporary reduction in anxiety, a fleeting sense of self-soothing.
It's fascinating how our brains are wired to seek out these rewards so consistently, isn't it? Even if the habit isn't serving us in the long run. It goes back to what we discussed in episode 1 about self-sabotage. Sometimes, these ingrained habit loops, driven by their rewards, can actively work against our goals.
Exactly. And understanding this loop is the first step to dismantling those self-sabotaging patterns. When you can identify the cue and the reward, you gain immense power. You can start to interrupt the routine. Let's take your afternoon snack example. The 3 p.m. slump is the cue. The craving for sugar and the brief energy boost is the reward. The routine is heading to the kitchen and eating the snack.
So, if I want to change this, I need to be able to pinpoint each of those elements. It's like being a detective in your own life.
Precisely. You have to observe yourself. When does the urge hit? What are you doing or feeling just before? What do you get out of it? Is it energy? Is it comfort? Is it distraction? Is it a sense of accomplishment?
And once I do identify the cue and the reward, how do I use that information to change the routine?
That's where the magic happens, and something we'll explore more deeply. But at its core, it's about keeping the cue and the reward the same, but changing the routine. If you crave a burst of energy at 3 p.m., reward, and the cue is the afternoon slump, instead of a sugary snack, old routine, you could try a brisk walk around the block, new routine. The cue from the slump is still there, and you still get that boost of energy, but you replace the unhealthy routine.
That makes so much sense. It's like my brain is still getting the same desired outcome, but through a healthier pathway.
Exactly. It's incredibly elegant. Your brain still experiences the reward, which makes it far more likely to adopt the new routine. Think about it. For thousands of years, our ancestors' survival depended on quickly recognizing cues and executing rewarding routines to find food, avoid danger, and conserve energy. Our brains haven't fundamentally changed.
So, the habit loop is essentially a survival mechanism that has become a double-edged sword in modern life, where many of our ingrained habits aren't about survival, but rather about convenience or comfort.
That's a perfect way to put it, Lisa. Modern convenience has made it easier than ever to activate these loops for less than ideal behaviors. But the good news is the underlying science remains the same. By understanding the cue, routine, and reward, we can begin to engineer our habits.
It's like any other skill. The more you practice understanding and identifying these loops, the better you become at leveraging them for positive change.
Absolutely. And this understanding is our foundation. We've learned that habits are driven by a cycle of cue, routine, and reward. The cue is the trigger, the routine is the action, and the reward is the payoff that reinforces the behavior. This loop is how our brains conserve energy and automate tasks.
And by becoming aware of these components in our own lives, we can start to untangle those unwanted habits and intentionally build the ones that will serve us.
Exactly. So, for this week, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to become a habit loop detective. Start noticing those cues and rewards in your daily life. Don't try to change anything yet, just observe.
Observe and understand. That sounds like a manageable and incredibly insightful first step.
It truly is. Because next time, we're going to zoom in even further on those triggers, exploring the different types of cues that can set our habits in motion.
I'm already excited to learn more.
Fantastic. Until then, happy observing. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to the Habit Reset. Today we unpack the crucial first part of the habit loop, the cue.
The cue is that little nudge, the signal that tells our brain, hey, it's time to perform a specific behavior. It's the trigger that kicks off the entire habit.
Exactly. And these cues aren't always obvious. They can be external, like seeing a certain object, or internal, like a feeling you have. Recognizing these invisible strings is the first step to gaining control over your habits.
So, Alex, what are the different types of triggers or cues that can set a habit in motion?
Broadly, we can categorize habit cues into four main types: environmental, emotional, temporal, and social. Let's unpack each one.
Environmental cues. That sounds like things around us, right?
Precisely. Think about your surroundings. Is there a specific place that makes you want to reach for a snack? Perhaps your couch? Or when you walk into the kitchen, you automatically think of making coffee. These are environmental cues. Seeing your phone might prompt you to scroll social media.
I often find myself craving a specific kind of tea when I sit at my desk in the morning. The sight of my mug is the cue.
That's a perfect example. Your desk, your mug, they are environmental cues that trigger the tea drinking routine.
Okay, so that's the outside world influencing us. What about the internal world? You mentioned emotional cues.
Yes, emotional cues are powerful. They're tied to our feelings. Do you find yourself reaching for comfort food when you're stressed? Or picking up your phone to distract yourself when you feel bored? Those feelings, stress, boredom, anxiety, can act as cues to perform a certain routine. This is where many self-sabotaging habits come into play.
That makes so much sense. When I feel overwhelmed, I tend to zone out and watch TV. I didn't connect it to the feeling of being overwhelmed.
What feels like just being tired might actually be your brain's way of seeking relief from that overwhelm. The feeling of overwhelm is the cue, and the routine is turning on the TV. Recognizing that emotional trigger is key to changing the response.
So we have environmental and emotional cues. What's next?
Next up are temporal cues. These are simply time-based. We all have routines tied to specific times of the day. The morning alarm is a prime example, cueing us to get out of bed. Or at lunchtime, you automatically feel hungry.
I notice this with my evening routine. Around 9 p.m., I start to feel a pull to wind down, even if I'm not sleepy. That time itself seems to be the cue for me.
Absolutely. And these temporal cues can be strengthened over time. If you always check your email at 8 a.m., then 8 a.m. itself can become a cue that makes you think about checking your email.
And the fourth type?
The fourth type is social cues. These relate to the people around us. Are you more likely to smoke if your friends are smoking? Or maybe you find yourself ordering dessert when you're out to dinner with others.
I've seen that with my family. When we all get together, there's a ritual of having a specific kind of cookie. Seeing everyone else reach for one makes me want to join in.
Exactly. These social cues can be incredibly persuasive because humans are inherently social creatures.
Wow, so we have environmental, emotional, temporal, and social cues. That's a lot to think about. How do we start decoding our own triggers?
The simplest way is through mindful observation and journaling. Think of yourself as a detective, investigating your own behavior. When you notice yourself performing a habit, pause and ask yourself, what was happening right before this? What was I seeing, feeling, thinking, or who was I with?
So, if I find myself mindlessly scrolling on my phone, I should stop and ask myself, why am I doing this right now? What triggered it?
Precisely. And don't judge your answers. Just observe. Is it because you felt a pang of boredom? Did you see an alert on your phone? Was it a specific time of day? Write it down. Over time, a pattern will emerge.
I like the idea of journaling. So, for my afternoon snack habit, I could write down around 3 p.m. Felt a dip in energy. Walked into the break room. Saw the cookie jar.
Perfect. You're identifying the environmental cues, the temporal cues, and the potential emotional cue of feeling a dip in energy. This understanding is incredibly empowering.
So, the cue is like the starting pistol for a race. If we know when the pistol is about to fire and what makes it fire, we can decide whether we want to run the race or choose a different path.
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. Understanding your cues is like having a map. It shows you the pathways your habits typically take. Once you have that map, you can start to reroute.
This is so eye-opening. It really makes me see how my automatic behaviors are often just responses to these internal and external prompts.
And that's the core message of this episode. Your habits are triggered. By becoming aware of these triggers, the environmental, emotional, temporal, and social cues, you gain the power to influence them.
So, to recap, we've learned that habit cues are the signals that initiate a habit. They can be environmental, emotional, temporal, and social. By diligently observing and journaling these cues, we can begin to understand the invisible forces that drive our daily actions.
Exactly. And this understanding is the essential first step before we can think about changing anything. Next time, we'll build on this by diving into the heart of the habit loop, the routine itself. How do we consciously change that action we perform in response to the cue?
Looking forward to that. Join us next time for episode 4, where we'll be mastering the routine, replacing the doing.
Welcome back to the Habit Reset. Last time, we dove deep into understanding the cue, those triggers that signal when a habit is about to happen. Now that we know when a habit wants to show up, let's talk about the most visible part, the routine. This is the doing, the actual behavior that makes up the habit itself.
Right, Alex? The routine is what we typically think of as the habit. It's the action we take after the cue. For instance, if the cue is feeling stressed, the routine might be reaching for a cigarette or perhaps mindlessly scrolling through your phone.
Exactly. And the key to changing a habit isn't necessarily about fighting the cue or even the reward directly. It's often about cleverly changing or replacing the routine. Think of it like this. Your cue still pops up and your brain still anticipates a reward, but you insert a different action, a new routine, in between.
So, it's not about simply trying to stop doing something, which is incredibly difficult. It's about consciously deciding to do something else instead.
Precisely. And the genius of this approach is that it leverages the existing habit loop. We still acknowledge the cue, and we still aim to satisfy the underlying need that the reward fulfills. We just change the how.
This makes so much sense. It's like rerouting traffic instead of building a giant wall to stop it. If I always grab a cookie when I get that afternoon slump cue, the routine is the cookie. Instead of just telling myself, no cookie, I could try a different routine that still addresses that slump.
That's a perfect analogy, Lisa. And when we're talking about replacing a routine, one of the most powerful strategies is to make the new routine incredibly easy to do, especially in the beginning.
Oh, that's a crucial point. Because when that cue hits, our brain is looking for the path of least resistance. If the replacement routine is too demanding, we'll likely revert to the old, familiar pattern.
Absolutely. So, if your old routine is smoking a cigarette when you feel stressed, a new routine might be to take just 3 deep breaths. 3 deep breaths are significantly easier and faster than stepping outside for a cigarette, especially when you're in the throes of stress.
I can see how that would work. It's almost like a tiny, immediate win. You acknowledge the cue, you performed a different action, and then you can still move towards the reward. In this case, a sense of calm or relief, which the deep breaths can help provide.
Exactly. And it's not just about willpower. It's about smart substitution. Let's take another common example. The cue might be a lull in your workday, and the old routine is mindlessly scrolling through social media for 20 minutes.
The classic times suck. So, what's a good replacement routine for that?
Instead of pulling out your phone to scroll, you could have a small, designated task ready. Maybe it's writing down 3 things you're grateful for, or doing a quick 5-minute stretching routine, or even just reading a single page of a physical book.
Those seem much more manageable than resisting the urge to check your phone altogether. And doing those things can still offer a sense of engagement or a small mental break, fulfilling that underlying need for distraction or a change of pace.
Precisely. The goal is to find a routine that offers a similar, or at least a sufficient, reward. Remember from episode 2, habits have a neurological reward that tells your brain, this is worth remembering. The new routine needs to deliver some kind of payoff.
So, we're looking for a replacement routine that is both easy to perform and satisfying enough. It might not be the exact same reward as the old habit, but it should address the core need. For example, if the old habit was eating junk food when bored, a replacement might be calling a friend or listening to an upbeat song. Both offer engagement and a mood lift.
You've got it. And it's vital to be specific. Instead of vaguely thinking, I'll do something else, have a concrete plan. When I feel that urge to scroll, I will do 5 minutes of mindful coloring. Or when the cue of finishing dinner hits, I will go for a 10-minute walk instead of turning on the TV.
Having that pre-decided action is key, isn't it? It removes the need for decision-making in the moment, when our resolve might be weakest.
Absolutely. It's about engineering your environment and your mindset for success. We'll talk more about environmental design later in the series, but for now, let's focus on the routine itself. Being specific about the replacement action makes it feel more achievable.
What about habits that feel a bit more complex, Alex? Like if the cue is feeling overwhelmed by tasks and the routine is procrastination by doing busy work?
That's a great question. For procrastination, the underlying need might be a desire for control or a fear of failure. A replacement routine could be breaking down the overwhelming task into one tiny, actionable step. So, instead of write the report, the new routine becomes write the first sentence of the report, or scheduling just 15 minutes to work on it.
Oh, that's powerful. Just committing to that minuscule first step can often break the inertia and make the larger task feel less daunting. It still addresses the need to feel productive, but in a much more manageable way.
And that one tiny step can lead to the next and the next. It's about creating momentum. Remember, we're not eliminating the cue. We're not necessarily eliminating the desire for the reward. We are strategically intervening in the middle, the routine.
So, to recap this part of the habit loop, once we've identified the cue, we look at the routine, the behavior, and we aim to replace it with a new, more constructive action. This replacement routine should be easy to perform, and it needs to deliver a satisfying reward, even if it's a different kind of reward than the original habit.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. It's about being intentional. Don't just let your habits happen to you. Design the routines you want to perform. Make them as frictionless as possible, especially when you're first building them. Think of it as a cognitive shortcut. The cue appears, your pre-planned, easy-to-do routine kicks in, and that leads you to a satisfying outcome or reward.
It's about empowering ourselves to change the doing part of our lives. We've identified the triggers, and now we're learning how to swap out the less than ideal actions for better ones. This feels very actionable.
And that's exactly what we aim for. We're moving from identification to intervention. We've got the tools to understand the cues, and now we're armed with the strategies to transform the routines.
So, we've cracked the cue, and now we're mastering the routine.
Well, we've talked about the cue, and we've tackled the routine. The very next piece of the puzzle, and a critically important one, is the reward. Why do we repeat habits? And how does the reward play into making our new routines stick?
Ah, the payoff. I'm excited to dive into that.
Great. So, join us next time for episode 5, where we'll explore the power of the reward, why we repeat habits. Welcome back to the Habit Reset. Today, we explore the power of reward in habit formation.
The reward. It's like the grand finale, isn't it? The reason we actually want to repeat that behavior. Alex, why is the reward so powerful in making habits stick?
Our brains are wired to seek efficiency. When a habit leads to a positive outcome, our brain signals that this sequence is worth remembering and repeating. This creates a strong neural pathway, making the habit more automatic. Think of your brain like a filing system. When a filing process leads to a useful document, it makes a note to use that same process again for similar documents.
So, it's not just the action itself, but the feeling or outcome that follows.
Exactly. The reward is what tells your brain that a routine is worth remembering. It's the satisfaction, the relief, or the pleasure we crave. This anticipation of the reward is what drives our desire to perform a habit. The brain literally lights up, anticipating that good feeling.
I've noticed with myself, sometimes the reward isn't great, but the anticipation is strong. Like reaching for a sweet treat. The thought of that brief sweetness is what gets me to reach for it.
That's a perfect example. Rewards can be immediate or delayed. The sweet treat offers a quick reward, but many habits, like exercising, offer delayed rewards. The reward might be the feeling of accomplishment after a workout, or the security of seeing savings grow over time. Our brains, however, are often more motivated by that immediate hit.
It's those delayed rewards that are harder to motivate ourselves towards, isn't it? Our brains want instant gratification. It's like trying to save for a distant vacation versus buying something you really want right now.
Our brains evolved to seek immediate rewards for survival. When building new habits with delayed gratification, we must deliberately create satisfying rewards. Understanding the true reward of a habit is essential. Sometimes, the reward we think we're getting isn't the whole story. It's like looking at a shiny apple, but not realizing it's only a thin coating over something less desirable.
So, how do we figure out the true reward? It seems like it could be hidden.
It often is. Let's take scrolling through social media when you feel stressed. The apparent reward might seem like entertainment, but afterwards, you might realize the true reward is a temporary escape from uncomfortable feelings. It's a sense of comfort or a way to numb yourself to anxiety. This is how habits often act as self-soothing or avoidance mechanisms. The habit itself is just the vehicle for that underlying feeling.
So it's not just about the activity, but the feeling it provides. The brain says, I feel bad, and this makes me feel momentarily less bad. It's like applying a temporary band-aid.
Precisely. To identify the true reward, try this. When you feel the urge to perform a habit, do it, and then ask yourself, what am I truly seeking? What is this habit giving me? After a few days, you might find the reward is hunger satisfied, a moment of calm, a feeling of connection, or a break from boredom. It's about paying attention to the internal payoff.
I like that. It's about becoming a detective of our own behaviors. Once we identify the true reward, what then?
For bad habits, once you understand the reward, you can seek a healthier way to get it. If the reward of a sugary snack is comfort, perhaps a warm cup of herbal tea, a short walk, or listening to a favorite song can provide that same comfort without negative consequences. Find an alternative routine that delivers a similar reward. You're essentially finding a better way to satisfy that underlying craving.
So, we're not so much eliminating the reward as redirecting it to a more beneficial behavior. It's like rerouting a river to a more fertile field.
Exactly. And for building new habits, it's about designing satisfying rewards. If you want to start a new exercise routine, don't just focus on long-term benefits. Give yourself an immediate reward. This could be listening to a great podcast, enjoying a healthy smoothie afterwards, or a mental pat on the back. Make the reward intrinsically motivating, something you genuinely look forward to.
That's so important. If I'm trying to build a habit of reading for 20 minutes each night, the reward could be a sense of accomplishment, or allowing myself to watch one episode of my favorite show after the reading is done. That's a tangible reward waiting for me.
That is a fantastic way to leverage the reward system. You're linking the new habit with something you enjoy, strengthening the association. Make the reward feel genuinely good and satisfying. It needs to be something you look forward to. This makes the new habit something the brain actively anticipates.
It really is about making the behavior itself feel rewarding, or leading to something rewarding quickly. So, to recap this episode, the reward is the final and most powerful component of the habit loop. It's the brain's signal that a behavior is worth remembering and repeating. It's the glue that holds the loop together.
And understanding the true reward allows us to either break a bad habit by finding a healthier way to fulfill that need, or build a new habit by designing satisfying, intrinsically motivating rewards. This makes the habit something we want to do, rather than something we feel we have to do.
By understanding and designing our rewards, we can make positive changes much more sustainable. It's like giving our brain a good reason to cooperate with our goals. We've truly learned how to hack our own reward system for good.
That's a perfect way to put it. We've covered the entire habit loop, the cue, the routine, and the reward. Next episode, we'll move from understanding habits to actively shaping our surroundings to support our changes.
Next episode, designing your environment for success. I can't wait.
Welcome back to the Habit Reset. Last time, we explored the reward component of the habit loop. Today, we're shifting our focus outward.
It's easy to think change is all about willpower, but our surroundings have a massive influence. Our environment can be an ally or an obstacle.
Exactly. We can be passive recipients or active architects of our surroundings. Today, we're designing your environment for success.
So, how do we start building this supportive environment?
We start with our physical space. Make desired actions easier and obvious, and undesired actions harder and less noticeable. Imagine wanting to meditate.
Instead of searching for my cushion, I'd clear a space and keep it there?
Precisely. The designated spot becomes the cue. This reduces friction for good habits,
And increases friction for bad habits, like snacking.
right? Put tempting treats in opaque containers in a less accessible cupboard. It requires more effort.
Like my brightly colored water bottle. Keeping it visible dramatically increased my water intake.
That's a perfect example, Lisa. It's about manipulating what you see and what's easily accessible. Decluttering also helps.
A cluttered environment can lead to a cluttered mind, making focus harder.
It creates order and calm, allowing you to focus on new routines. Now, let's consider our digital environment.
My phone can be a huge distraction with notifications and emails.
These are cues for bad habits like endless scrolling. To design your digital environment, turn off non-essential notifications.
So, we're reducing unwanted cues and distractions.
Exactly. Organize your apps. Place distracting apps on a secondary screen or in a folder that requires an extra step.
And make the apps for good habits, like reading, easily accessible.
Yes, use technology as a tool. Set multiple alarms for waking up, or use an uplifting song as your alarm. You're using technology to reinforce the cue.
This is empowering. We're not just subjected to our environment. We can engineer it.
We can, and our social environment matters too. Surround yourself with supportive people.
Their habits can become subtle cues and provide encouragement.
Indeed, they offer support and celebrate successes. Conversely, constant exposure to habits that contradict your goals can be an uphill battle.
This is so much more than willpower. It's about creating a system where good habits are the easiest path.
That's the essence. Remember the habit loop. The cue is often environmental. The routine is influenced by our surroundings.
So, by designing our environment, we directly impact the cue and routine. We make the desired action the path of least resistance.
Precisely. You are the architect of your habits, and your environment is your building material. Start small.
I can adjust my workspace, making my journal and pen more visible.
Excellent. Small, intentional adjustments compound over time. We've covered physical, digital, and social environments.
So, we design our physical space by decluttering and making actions easy. Digitally, we manage notifications and app placement. Socially, we align with supportive people.
You've got it. By actively designing your environment, you're building the foundation for success, making it probable.
This reframes habit change. It's not just internal motivation, but also external scaffolding.
And that scaffolding is crucial. Next time, we'll explore the advantage of accountability.
Join us next time as we discuss the accountability advantage.
Welcome back to the Habit Reset. Last time, we explored designing your environment for success.
Right, Alex? We learned how to make our surroundings work for us, nudging us toward our goals without constant willpower.
Exactly. And that leads us perfectly into today's topic, the accountability advantage. Sometimes we still need that extra push to keep us on track.
I can totally relate. I've started new routines with the best intentions, and then weeks in, it becomes easy to slip. Going it alone often feels like the hardest way.
It really is. Psychologically, humans are social creatures. When we're accountable to someone else, it creates a psychological contract. We don't just want to let ourselves down, we also don't want to let down those we've committed to.
So, it's not just about willpower, it's about tapping into that desire not to disappoint others. That sounds more sustainable.
Precisely. Imagine you've committed to running a marathon. If you were just training alone, you might skip a run on a cold morning. But if you know your running buddy is waiting, that commitment to them makes it harder to bail. That's the accountability advantage.
Okay, I'm starting to see how powerful this is. What are some ways we can create this accountability?
The beauty of accountability is its flexibility. We can categorize it into a few main types. First, there's personal tracking. This is where you're accountable to yourself through a system that makes your progress visible. Think journaling, using a habit tracking app, or a simple checklist.
Like marking an X on a calendar for every day I go to the gym? Seeing that chain grow is surprisingly motivating.
That's the power of visual feedback. It makes your commitment tangible. Another form is an accountability partner. This is someone you check in with regularly who can offer support and a gentle nudge,
This is the running buddy scenario. It requires finding someone willing to be that supportive voice.
right? And ideally, you choose someone whose goals align with yours. Then there are accountability groups. This is like having a team of accountability partners. Think of book clubs or online communities focused on a specific goal.
A group setting must offer different momentum. You see others succeeding, share struggles, and get collective energy.
Exactly. And importantly, accountability doesn't have to be about judgment. It's about support. The goal is to help each other succeed.
That's a really important point. When we're trying to break bad habits, we're often fighting old patterns of self-sabotage. If accountability feels like criticism, it can trigger more of that self-sabotage.
You've hit on a key connection. Remember how we can unconsciously undermine our progress? External accountability acts as a powerful deterrent against that. When you know someone else is aware of your commitment, you're less likely to give in to those urges to revert to old behaviors. It's like a friendly guardian watching over your habit formation.
So, how do we choose the right form of accountability?
It's about matching the method to the habit and your personality. For habits that require deep introspection, like mindfulness, personal tracking might be enough.
Okay, so if the habit is more about tangible action like exercise, an accountability partner or a group could be really effective.
Precisely. If you thrive on social energy, a group is fantastic. If you prefer a more intimate connection, an accountability partner is ideal. Consider how much interaction you need.
And what if you're shy, or you don't have anyone in your immediate circle who's on the same wavelength?
That's a common challenge. For those situations, online communities are incredible resources. There are groups for almost every interest and goal imaginable. You can find platforms dedicated to writing, fitness, learning languages, you name it. Finding your allies is part of the process.
So, to recap, accountability is about creating external support systems to reinforce our commitment to new habits. We've covered personal tracking, accountability partners, and accountability groups. And accountability can be a powerful tool to combat self-sabotage.
That's a great summary, Lisa. The key takeaway is that you don't have to go it alone. Actively build accountability into your habit reset strategy. Find what resonates most with you and the habits you're cultivating.
That makes so much sense. It feels like we're building a real safety net for change.
Exactly. And speaking of building that safety net, next episode, we'll be diving into a crucial component of maintaining momentum, tracking your triumphs. We'll explore the immense power that comes from simply monitoring your progress and celebrating your wins. Welcome back to the Habit Reset. Last time, we explored the crucial role of accountability in building and maintaining new habits. Today, we're diving into another powerhouse strategy, tracking your triumphs, the essential practice of monitoring your progress.
That's right, Alex. We've talked about the science of habit loops, understanding our cues, mastering the routine, and making reward satisfying. But how do we know if any of that is actually working? That's where tracking comes in. It's like having a map for your habit journey, showing you where you've been and how far you have left to go.
Exactly, Lisa. And it's so much more than just ticking a box. When you track your progress, you're gathering data. This data is incredibly powerful. It serves as a concrete reminder of your efforts, which would be a huge motivator when you're feeling a dip in enthusiasm. Seeing a streak of successful habit executions, even a small one, is incredibly reinforcing.
It's like celebrating small wins along the way. Sometimes, the end goal can feel very far off, and just showing up is the win. Tracking allows us to acknowledge that. I know some people find it daunting to start tracking. What are some of the ways listeners can begin?
The beauty of tracking is its flexibility. You can go as simple or as complex as you like. For many, a basic habit tracker is a great starting point. This could be a dedicated notebook, a printable sheet, or a simple calendar. You list the habits you're working on and assign a column or row for each day.
So, for instance, if I'm trying to drink more water, I'd simply make a mark next to drink water on the days I hit my goal, right?
Precisely. And then you can build on that. Beyond just a check mark, you can get more detailed. Did you drink 8 glasses? 10 glasses? What time of day did you struggle the most to remember? This is where your habit journal can become invaluable. A journal allows you to capture more context. You can jot down any thoughts or feelings associated with the habit.
That connects back to what we discussed with cues and rewards, doesn't it? If I notice I'm always forgetting to drink water after lunch, that's a clear cue I can work with. Or if I feel a burst of energy after a run, that's a reward I can associate with the exercise habit.
Absolutely. And tracking helps you identify those patterns. It makes the abstract concrete. You can track not just if you did the habit, but also how well you did it. For example, if you're trying to meditate for 10 minutes, you could track whether you completed the full 10 minutes or if you stopped early. You might even track how you felt during the meditation. Was it difficult? Was it relaxing?
That's such a great point. It's not just about binary success or failure. It's about the nuances. For our listeners who are more tech savvy, what are some digital options?
There are countless apps available now that are designed specifically for habit tracking. Many of them offer customizable interfaces, reminders, and even visualizations of your progress. Some apps allow you to track multiple habits, set custom goals, and even offer motivational prompts. The key is to find a tool that resonates with you and that you'll actually use consistently. Don't get caught up in the fanciest app if a simple notebook helps you stay on track better.
So, the best method is the one that works for the individual. It's about making the tracking process itself a manageable habit. We don't want to create another habit that feels like a chore.
Exactly. And remember, the purpose of tracking is to gain insight and foster motivation, not to create a source of anxiety. If you miss a day, or even several days, it's not the end of the world. This is where the triumphs part comes in. We track our successes, and we learn from our misses without dwelling on them.
That's a crucial distinction. It's easy to fall into a mindset of all or nothing. If I miss one day, I might as well give up. But tracking helps us see the bigger picture. A single missed day doesn't erase all the progress you've made.
Right? It's like building a magnificent structure. Each successful day is a brick laid perfectly. One brick might be slightly off, but it doesn't mean the entire wall crumbles. You adjust, you learn, and you place the next brick with renewed attention. Tracking helps you see that consistency over time. It shifts your focus from the immediate, sometimes fleeting feelings of motivation to the enduring power of sustained effort.
It really builds that sense of personal agency, doesn't it? You're not just passively hoping for change, you're actively participating in creating it, and you have the evidence to prove it. This evidence then fuels the next steps.
Absolutely. And this brings us back to the importance of consistency. Remember how we talked about the habit loop? The cue, routine, reward. Tracking helps you refine each of those components. By monitoring your routine, you might discover you need a stronger cue or a more immediate reward. You can use the data from your tracking to make informed adjustments, making your habit loop more robust and sustainable.
So, to recap for our listeners, progress tracking is essential for motivation, providing concrete evidence of your efforts. It helps reveal patterns in your habit loops, allowing for informed adjustments. You can use simple methods like habit trackers or journals, or leverage various apps. The key is to find a method that suits you, focus on consistency over perfection, and use the data to celebrate wins and learn from misses.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Tracking your triumphs isn't just about looking back. It's about looking forward with confidence, knowing that you're building a better you, brick by brick. It's about recognizing that even small, consistent efforts compound into significant change.
It's empowering. You are indeed the architect of your habits. Next episode, Navigating Setbacks, Bouncing Back Stronger.
Welcome back to the Habit Reset. Today, we're tackling setbacks.
Indeed, Alex. Progress is great, but life happens and habits can falter. Today, we're exploring navigating setbacks and bouncing back stronger.
Setbacks are not failures. They are normal and valuable parts of the process.
How can listeners reframe moments of falling short from personal failings to learning opportunities?
Move away from self-criticism. Instead of "I'm so bad at this," ask, "What happened here?" Get curious. What triggered this deviation? Was it a situation, emotion, or planning lapse?
So, it's like being a detective, investigating without judgment. What questions might someone ask themselves in that curious moment?
Ask, "Was I tired? Stressed? Did I encounter an unexpected obstacle?" Perhaps your new habit didn't fit your schedule, or an emotional trigger led to an old, comforting habit. The key is observation, not evaluation.
Observation, not evaluation. That detaches us from the emotional weight. Once we understand what happened, how do we get back on track quickly?
Dwelling on why can feed the inner critic. After brief detective work, re-engage with your plan as soon as possible. Don't wait for the perfect moment. If you missed your morning meditation, think, "Can I do 5 minutes now? Or can I commit to doing it tomorrow morning?"
So, the goal is immediate recommitment and minimizing the lapse duration. It's about not letting a small stumble become a full relapse.
Precisely. Think of it as a tiny detour. You don't abandon your journey for one wrong turn. You correct your course and keep moving. Minimizing time off track builds resilience.
That analogy helps. One lapse doesn't erase progress. It's easy to fall into all or nothing thinking, though.
All or nothing thinking fuels self-sabotage. Believing anything less than perfect adherence means total failure can paralyze us.
How do we actively combat that all or nothing mindset?
Gently remind yourself of good enough. Remember designing your environment? We aim for small, achievable changes. The same applies to setbacks. Slightly less than perfect adherence is far better than no adherence. Embrace good enough and build from there.
Good enough is freeing. It takes the pressure off and makes the path forward manageable. What are practical strategies for getting back on track immediately?
Reset your immediate environment or routine. If you missed a workout, don't just try to fit it in later. Perhaps the next day, set your alarm 15 minutes earlier. If a tempting snack is around, remove it from your home or office. Make the desired behavior the easiest option again.
That's great. It's about reestablishing conditions for success, clearing the path. What about the emotional component? Setbacks trigger shame or guilt. How do we manage those?
Self-compassion comes in. Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend. Acknowledge difficult feelings without letting them dictate actions. Say to yourself, "This is hard, and I'm feeling disappointed, but I have the capacity to get back on track."
Self-compassion. It's not about excusing the setback, but acknowledging human imperfection and choosing kindness over judgment.
Exactly. And remember the accountability from episode 7? Sharing your intention to get back on track with a partner or group can be motivating.
So, to recap, setbacks are inevitable and normal. First, approach them with curiosity, asking what happened. Second, Recommit to your goal as soon as possible, minimizing the lapse duration.
Yes, and we also talked about combating all or nothing thinking by embracing good enough, resetting your environment, and practicing self-compassion. And leverage your accountability partners.
These are practical tools for building resilience. It's not about never falling, but learning how to get up quickly and continue the journey. This empowers listeners with a more sustainable mindset.
It's about building a robust system that can withstand bumps in the road. Navigating setbacks effectively makes habit change more tenable and successful.
That makes sense. It shifts focus from an impossible ideal to persistent effort.
And that resilience is key. It turns a temporary habit adjustment into a permanent lifestyle change.
Fantastic. So, we've learned how to handle stumbles. What's next on our habit reset journey?
In our next episode, we'll introduce a powerful concept, keystone habits.
Keystone habits. That sounds fascinating. I can't wait to learn how one habit triggers a cascade of other positive changes.
It's a game changer. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to the Habit Reset. Last time we covered navigating setbacks. Today we'll talk about keystone habits.
Keystone habits. It sounds like something really important, Alex.
Exactly, Lisa. Keystone habits are those foundational habits that, when adopted, create a domino effect, triggering a cascade of other positive changes. They have a disproportionate positive impact.
So, it's like picking one strategic habit, and it makes it easier to build other good habits and break bad ones?
Precisely. By identifying and focusing on a keystone habit, you create momentum that naturally carries you forward. It's about working smarter, not just harder.
That makes sense. Can you give us some examples of these keystone habits?
Absolutely. Regular exercise is a prime example. When people start exercising consistently, they often find themselves making other healthy choices, eating better, sleeping more soundly, and feeling more energized. Exercise is the keystone, setting off those other positive changes.
So, if someone starts a run every morning, they might then want to pack a healthy lunch.
Bingo! Another classic example is making your bed each morning. Studies show that people who make their beds are more likely to feel a sense of accomplishment, be more productive, and have a stronger sense of well-being. It's a small win that builds confidence.
What about something like journaling?
Journaling is another excellent example. Regularly writing down your thoughts can lead to increased self-awareness. This improved self-awareness helps you identify unhealthy patterns and understand your emotional triggers. Journaling becomes the keystone that unlocks deeper personal growth.
And when you understand yourself better, you're more likely to make better decisions about your habits.
Exactly. Another powerful keystone habit is tracking your spending. When you start to monitor where your money is going, you become more mindful of your purchases. This can lead to reduced impulse buying and increased savings. The act of tracking itself is the catalyst for financial discipline.
It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Once you see things clearly, you know what needs to be done.
That's a great way to put it. So, how do we go about identifying our own potential keystone habits?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. One way to start is to think about habits that, if implemented, would make other aspects of your life easier. Ask yourself, if I could only pick one new habit to focus on, which one would have the biggest ripple effect?
So, instead of thinking, I need to exercise more, eat better, read more, I should ask, which of these would make the others easier?
You've got it. Another clue is looking at your existing habits for unintentional domino effects. Do you notice that on days you skip your morning coffee, you're less patient? These observable patterns can point to your existing keystone habits.
That's a great point. It's not just about creating new habits, but also identifying the underlying drivers of our current behaviors.
Exactly. And when you're looking to build a keystone habit, focus on something that fosters self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is your belief in your ability to succeed. When you achieve small wins through your keystone habit, your belief in your ability to change grows. Think of it as building your confidence muscle.
So, a keystone habit should be achievable, something that provides a sense of accomplishment.
Yes, and it often involves a small, consistent change. For instance, instead of I'm going to go to the gym for 2 hours every day, a keystone habit might be I'm going to put on my workout clothes and walk around the block. That small victory can then lead to doing more.
This really ties back to what we've been building throughout the habit reset. We've looked at habit loops, triggers, routines, and rewards. We've discussed environment, accountability, and tracking progress. Now we're layering on this strategic element of identifying the most impactful habit.
Precisely. Keystone habits are that foundational element for lasting change. By targeting a keystone habit, you're not just changing one behavior, you're priming yourself for widespread positive transformation. It simplifies the process.
So, to recap, keystone habits are powerful catalysts for change. They're foundational habits, like regular exercise or making your bed, that trigger a chain reaction of other positive behaviors and lead to a greater sense of accomplishment. By focusing on a keystone habit, we can accelerate our progress towards overall lifestyle change and build greater self-efficacy.
That's a perfect summary of our discussion today. Lisa, understanding and implementing keystone habits is a crucial step in making your habit reset a permanent fixture.
I'm really excited to think about which keystone habit might be right for me.
And that leads us perfectly into our next episode, where we'll discuss the 30-day experiment. We'll explore how to put all this knowledge into a structured, timed approach to really incubate those new habits and make them stick.
I can't wait. So, for next time, we're talking about the 30-day experiment for incubating new habits.
Welcome back to the Habit Reset. Today, we're diving into the 30-day experiment.
The 30-day experiment. I love that framing, Alex. It sounds manageable, almost like a fun challenge. Because let's face it, trying to change something permanently from day one can feel overwhelming. A 30-day block feels achievable, right?
Absolutely, Lisa. And there's a real psychological reason why 30 days works so well. It's long enough to get past the initial awkwardness, to practice consistently, and to start seeing real momentum. But it's not so long that it feels endless. Think of it like planting a seed. You need a consistent period of watering and sunlight for it to sprout and grow. 30 days provides that crucial fertile ground for a new habit to take root.
So, we're not aiming for perfection in those 30 days. We're aiming for consistency, for practicing the behavior over and over until it starts to feel a bit more natural.
Exactly. The goal of the 30-day experiment isn't to be flawless. It's to build a pattern. We're training our brains to associate the new behavior with a cue and a reward. Remember our habit loop? Cue, routine, reward. For 30 days, we'll be strengthening that link for our chosen new habit. We're immersing ourselves in it.
Okay, so how do we actually design and execute one of these 30-day experiments? What are the key steps?
Great question. The first step, and we've touched on this before, is choosing your habit. Be specific. Instead of exercise more, choose something like go for a 20-minute walk after breakfast or do 50 squats before lunch. Clarity is your ally.
And it shouldn't be something that feels like a huge burden, right? We want it to be exciting, not a chore.
Precisely. Step two is setting clear, measurable goals. How will you know if you've succeeded after 30 days? For our walking example, The goal is simply to walk for 20 minutes after breakfast, 30 times in 30 days. For a habit like drink more water, it might be consume 8 8-ounce glasses of water daily. These are clear benchmarks.
So, we've chosen the habit and we've set our specific goal. What's next?
Step 3 is identifying your cue. We've discussed this extensively. What will trigger you to perform your new habit? It could be a time of day, a location, a preceding action, or even a particular feeling. Linking your new habit to an existing, established cue is incredibly powerful. For instance, if you want to start reading for 15 minutes each night, your cue could be immediately after I brush my teeth before bed.
Building on existing routines. That makes so much sense. It's like adding a new, positive step onto a well-worn path.
It is. And step 4 is planning your reward. This is crucial for reinforcing the habit loop. The reward doesn't have to be grand. It could be a few minutes of guilt-free relaxation, listening to your favorite song, or even just acknowledging your accomplishment with a mental pat on the back. The key is that it feels good and reinforces the positive behavior.
This is where the incubating part really comes into play. We're creating a positive feedback loop.
You've got it. Now, step 5 is designing your environment for success. This means removing obstacles and setting up your surroundings to make the new habit as easy as possible. If you want to meditate for 10 minutes each morning, have your meditation cushion ready, your app queued up, and your phone on silent. Make it effortless to do the right thing.
So, if I want to eat a healthy snack, I should have pre-cut fruit and veggies readily available instead of a bag of chips staring at me.
Exactly. And this leads us to step 6. Anticipate obstacles and create a plan. When life throws a curveball, how will you respond? What if you miss a day? Remember, the 30-day experiment is about progress, not perfection. If you miss a day, don't let it derail you. Acknowledge it, learn from it, and get back on track the very next day. Maybe your plan is to simply do double the next day, or perhaps just get back on schedule without overthinking it. It's about building resilience.
That's such a relief to hear. It's okay if we don't hit 100% every single day. The goal is to keep going.
Absolutely. And throughout this 30-day period, step 7 is consistent tracking and accountability. This is where we revisit the power of monitoring our progress, just like we discussed in episode 8. Use a journal, an app, or a simple calendar. Mark off each day you successfully complete your habit. And if you have an accountability partner, as we explored in episode 7, check in with them regularly. Seeing that streak grow is incredibly motivating.
It's like a visual representation of your commitment. Seeing those check marks build up would be a powerful motivator.
It truly is. And step 8 is reflection. At the end of each week, take a few minutes to reflect. How did it go? What worked well? What were the challenges? This reflection allows you to make small adjustments along the way, optimizing your experiment.
So, to recap the steps for our 30-day experiment. First, choose your habit specifically. Second, set clear and measurable goals. Third, identify a strong cue to trigger the habit. Fourth, plan a satisfying reward. Fifth, design your environment to support the habit. Sixth, anticipate potential obstacles and have a plan for them. Seventh, consistently track your progress and maintain accountability. And eighth, reflect weekly to make adjustments.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. This framework turns a vague desire for change into a concrete, actionable plan. It makes the process less daunting and much more effective. During these 30 days, you're not just hoping for a new habit to stick. You're actively cultivating it. You're giving it the best possible chance to flourish.
And by the end of these 30 days, the hope is that the habit will have become so ingrained that it doesn't feel like an experiment anymore, but simply a part of your life.
Precisely. The goal is to transition from doing this habit for 30 days to this is just something I do. It's about building that muscle of self-discipline and positive behavior. Remember our discussion on Keystone habits? This 30-day experiment is the perfect way to introduce a new Keystone behavior or to solidify a habit that will support your existing Keystone habits.
It feels like we're getting so close to the finish line of the series, and this episode provides such a practical, hands-on tool for our listeners to start implementing everything we've learned.
It's all about empowering you to take that first concrete step. Don't just think about the habits you want. Create a plan to incubate them. The 30-day experiment is your invitation to play, to learn, and to grow. Embrace the process. Focus on consistency and celebrate your progress. Next episode, refining and integrating, making habits stick. Welcome back to the Habit Reset. Last time we explored the 30-day experiment.
That initial push to incubate new habits felt like a real turning point. We learned how committing to that period can help solidify new patterns.
Exactly, Lisa. But what happens after those 30 days? That's what we're tackling today. We're talking about refining and integrating, making habits stick. It's about moving from that initial experiment to making habits a true, effortless part of your life.
So, it's taking that well-practiced habit and making sure it doesn't just fade away once the experiment is over. How do we do that? How do we go from conscious effort to automatic behavior?
That's the core question. The first step is recognizing that habits aren't static. Your life changes, your needs change, and your habits might need a little tweaking along the way. We call this refining. Think of it like tuning a musical instrument. You get it to play, but you keep adjusting it to sound its best.
That's a great analogy. So, if I started a habit of drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning, and after 30 days it's automatic, but I notice I'm still feeling a bit sluggish later in the day, maybe I need to refine that habit. Perhaps it's not just one glass, but two, or maybe I need to add lemon.
Precisely. You're not throwing out the habit, you're optimizing it. You've done the hard work of building the foundation, and now you're adding the finishing touches to make it even more effective for you. This is where you become the expert on your own habits. You listen to your body, your mind, and your overall well-being.
And how do we avoid the trap of overthinking it? I can see myself wanting to constantly change a habit when maybe it's just a minor dip in motivation.
That's a valid concern. The key is to distinguish between genuine need for refinement and fleeting resistance. Ask yourself, is this a consistent issue? Is this impacting my ability to achieve what this habit is designed for? If the answer is yes, then it's time to refine. If it's just a don't feel like it today moment, that's where the next piece comes in, integration.
Integration. That sounds like making sure the new habit plays nicely with all the other habits I already have.
Exactly. We talked about the habit loop, cue, routine, reward. When you're integrating, you're looking for ways to make that routine flow seamlessly from an existing cue or into an existing routine. A really powerful technique for this is called habit stacking.
Habit stacking. I've heard that term. It's like linking a new habit onto an established one, right?
That's it. The formula is simple. After I current habit, I will new habit. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 2 minutes. Brushing your teeth is a habit you likely already do without thinking. By stacking your new habit, meditating onto it, you're leveraging its automaticity.
Oh, I love that. So, if my new habit is to stretch for 5 minutes after waking up, I can say, after I get out of bed, I will stretch for 5 minutes. It makes the transition so much smoother because the cue is already built in.
Precisely. And the more you stack habits, the more cohesive your daily routine becomes. It's like building a finely tuned machine where each part knows its role and how it connects to the next. This reduces the mental load required to initiate the new behavior. You're essentially hijacking your existing automaticity.
And this helps with motivation too, doesn't it? Because instead of thinking, ugh, I have to remember to do X, it becomes, okay, I've just finished Y, now I do X. It feels like a natural progression.
Absolutely. Integration through habit stacking and environmental design, which we touched on in episode 6, helps create this sense of inevitable progress. But we also need to discuss maintaining that forward momentum, especially as the initial novelty wears off. How do you keep yourself engaged when a habit feels like it's just there?
That's the complacency trap. When it becomes too easy, sometimes we stop appreciating it.
Right? So, how do we maintain that spark? One way is to occasionally revisit the why. Why did you start this habit in the first place? What were the initial benefits you were seeking? Sometimes, a quick mental reminder of the original motivation can reignite your commitment.
Kind of like looking back at your before picture, metaphorically speaking.
Exactly. And another technique is to proactively plan for potential boredom or inertia. If you know a certain habit might become repetitive, think about how you can introduce variety within the routine itself, provided it doesn't compromise the core purpose. For our water habit, maybe sometimes it's infused water, other days it's plain. For exercise, maybe it's a different route or a new type of workout.
So, we're not just talking about making habits stick, but making them enjoyably stick.
Ideally, yes. And this is where the rewards come back into play. Even when a habit is well established, consciously acknowledging the reward can be beneficial. Perhaps it's a moment of quiet satisfaction after completing a challenging workout, or simply noticing how much calmer you feel after your meditation. This reinforces the positive association. It's about continuing to feed the reward part of the loop, even if it's happening subconsciously.
It really does all circle back to the habit loop, doesn't it? We've built the habit, we've refined it, and now we're making sure it's seamlessly woven into the fabric of our lives. It's about moving from a conscious effort to a subconscious, sustainable lifestyle change.
That's the ultimate goal of our habit reset. It's not just about temporary fixes, it's about building the capacity for lasting positive change. Today, we've talked about refining habits to optimize them, integrating them through powerful techniques like habit stacking, and maintaining motivation even when things feel routine. These are the skills that allow your new habits to transition from that 30-day experiment into a permanent part of your daily architecture.
So, to recap, we're refining by adjusting habits as needed, integrating them by stacking them onto existing routines, and maintaining motivation by remembering our why and consciously acknowledging rewards. It's about making these powerful new behaviors truly yours forever.
You've got it, Lisa. This has been an incredibly important episode, bridging the gap from intentional habit formation to automatic, beneficial living. It's about creating that permanent architecture for a better you.
And it brings us to our final episode next time. We'll be wrapping up the entire series, summarizing all we've learned, and looking at how to build your ultimate habit architecture.
Indeed. So, for now, keep refining, keep integrating, and keep resetting. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time we covered refining and integrating habits. Now, let's build your permanent architecture.
And what an incredible journey it's been, Alex. We've explored the science and the strategies of habit change. In this final episode, we're recapping everything we've learned and discussing how to make these changes last a lifetime.
Absolutely, Lisa. We started this series understanding that habits are deeply ingrained patterns that shape our lives. At the core of every habit is the habit loop, a cue, a routine, and a reward. Remember that? The cue is the trigger, the routine is the behavior itself, and the reward is the satisfaction that makes us want to do it again.
That habit loop is such a powerful concept. It's like understanding the secret code to our own behavior. And you broke down each part beautifully. For the cue, we learn to become detectives, identifying what signals our habits. It's all about recognizing those triggers.
Exactly. And then, episode by episode, we tackled how to consciously design the other parts of that loop. We dove deep into the routine, exploring how to replace undesirable behaviors with more constructive ones. It's not about simply stopping a bad habit. It's about substituting it with something positive.
And that leads us perfectly to the reward. We learned that the reward isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's a tangible feeling, but other times it's more subtle. Understanding what reward our old habit was truly giving us is crucial for finding a sustainable replacement.
That's right. After deconstructing the habit loop, we shifted our focus to the environment. We discovered how powerful our surroundings are in either supporting or sabotaging our habits. Designing your environment for success means making the good habits easy and the bad habits hard.
And who could forget the accountability advantage? We talked about how sharing your goals with others or using a habit tracker can provide that external push we sometimes need. Being accountable to someone else, or even just to yourself through a simple checkmark, significantly increases your chances of sticking with a new behavior.
Tracking your triumphs was another cornerstone, wasn't it? Seeing your progress, no matter how small, is incredibly motivating. It's like collecting little victories along the way. We learned that documenting your journey provides tangible proof that you are moving forward.
That's so true. And speaking of keeping going, we also had to face the reality of setbacks. We learned that a setback isn't failure, it's a temporary detour. It's about learning from it and getting back on track without letting it derail your entire effort.
Precisely. And building on that resilience, we introduced the concept of keystone habits. These are the habits that have a ripple effect, triggering a cascade of other positive changes. Think about starting to exercise. It often leads to better eating, more consistent sleep, and increased productivity.
The 30-day experiment was such a practical way to test new habits. It's long enough to start forming new pathways in your brain, but not so daunting that it feels impossible. It gives you a defined period to consciously practice a new behavior and see how it fits into your life.
And then, in our most recent episode, we focused on refining and integrating. This is where you take those habits you've experimented with and make them a seamless part of your daily life. It's about making them so automatic that they require less conscious effort. It's the refinement process that truly makes habits stick long term.
So, bringing it all together for this final episode, Alex, what does building your permanent architecture really mean? It means realizing that habit formation isn't a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process of self-discovery and continuous improvement. You now have the tools to dismantle old, unhelpful patterns and to intentionally build new, beneficial ones.
It means adopting a mindset of agency. You are not a passive passenger in your life. You're the architect. Every day presents an opportunity to lay another brick, to reinforce another beam in the structure of the life you want to live. This isn't just about changing one or two things. It's about cultivating a life where positive habits are the foundation.
It's about creating habits that serve you, that support your goals, your well-being, and your overall happiness. You've learned how to understand your triggers, change your routines, appreciate your rewards, design your environment, leverage accountability, track your progress, and bounce back from stumbles. You are equipped.
And this is where the real work and the real magic happens. It's in the consistent application of these principles. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start small, be patient with yourself, and celebrate every single victory. Your commitment to this series has already put you on a path of significant transformation.
Remember, the journey of habit change is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days that feel easier than others, and that's perfectly okay. The important thing is to keep showing up, to keep applying the strategies we've discussed, and to trust the process. You are building a life that you are proud of, one habit at a time.
So, go out there and be the architect of your own success. Embrace the power you now hold to reset your habits and build a permanent, positive architecture for your life. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the habit reset.
It truly has been a pleasure sharing this journey with all of you. You've got this. Thanks for listening to the series.